BRRR Explained, and this is the rent step of the whole property strategy. So feel free to steal my guide for financial freedom this year. And this BRRR guide that I'm putting together, guys, it is for beginners and it's based off my practical experience of just going through a couple of projects based on this strategy. And this is how I'm going to make this BRRR strategy, property investing strategy, work for me this year. And guys, this is part of my overall BRRR guide. There's other videos that I've go before this, so feel free to watch those back so that it gives this video a bit more context. So your first step before you do anything when you are preparing to rent your property out, make sure you do pre-list checks, and it always works out well if you've got those always predetermined. I've got a pack that I use when I'm actually renting out my properties, and I literally go and I tick everything off and I date it and everything, and that forms part of the pack, so it's part of my auditing process. If there are any issues, I can go back and fall back on that, and I've got that for review. So I will literally check everything from the overall cleanliness of the property. So obviously if it's a property that I've just literally fixed up and I've just renovated, I'm going to make sure that it's all clean, everything's working, all the things like the windows and everything like that are all up to scratch, all of the heating, the cupboards, things are working, the shower, everything's all in working order. And I'm going to tick every item off on my checklist as I go around and check and then date it. Obviously if it's a property that's already been rented out before, I'm going to be making sure that when I get the keys back, before I rent this back out again, I'm going to make sure that the property is nice and clean and tidy for the next person that's going in. This is something that I love to do and I do like to do myself. I had a project where I wasn't able to oversee this in the past and it's caused me issues in the past, so I always like to do this. I was sick before, so I couldn't go around and check that everything had been done, and it literally messed me up later on. So you need to make sure that you're doing all these pre-checks and that you've literally got an auditing system in place so that you can evidence that you've checked everything off and you have actually done all these checks in the first place. So you're looking at things like electrical sockets, you're looking at things, all your electrical points, everything like that, and making sure that there's no hazards, there's nothing that's going to be detrimental to somebody, it's going to harm someone or cause serious harm to somebody. So you're literally doing that, and the most important thing is that you have that pre-listing checklist there to show that you have done your due diligence. If you do get challenged later on, you can provide that and say that you've done that. We're making sure that any holes and things are filled in, maybe that it's nicely freshly painted. We're making sure that windows and things, handles, everything like that is working and their doors are opening and closing without issues, and we've got all of that handled. And we're going to be carrying out any repairs that need to be done. Obviously with my new projects, the past two that I've done, I've got a certain colour scheme and I've got a certain set of things that I'm putting in, the equipment and everything, heating, radiators, everything like that is all listed, and I have a specification of what I'm putting in there so that if I need to maintain, replace and do repair and do everything, one, I know how much it's going to cost, two, I know that it's a product that's going to be readily available, that I'm hoping that's not going to have been, discontinued or something like that. It's something that I can get hold of and I can quite easily swap that out and repair it. So you really need to be thinking about maintenance, replacing, repairing and everything like that. All of those costs, we're taking those into consideration and making sure that we've got products that are in our refurbishments that can be readily replaced and that are on a regular maintenance program so that they are updated every so often. We're being as cost effective with those products as we can be. Guys, I am working on maybe some sort of free pack to give out to you guys based on what I use and what I use for maintenance, so that I can, one, keep track on that, and two, so that I've got that there and I've got a pack ready so that I know what I'm maintaining and everything's all written down and kept for auditing purposes. So then that leads me on to my next point. We need to be making sure that we're taking regular photos and things. We're going around the property once it's empty, once we've done it, it's all ready to be listed, it's all clean, tidy and everything's all ready to be listed. You want to have took the time out to take photos of everything, record everything so that you know what state you are giving the property for that potential tenant to have, so that you've got a record of that moving forwards. So also make sure that you are taking photos of everything of the current condition, and you know what condition you are giving the keys to any prospective tenants, so that you know what the state of the property was before. And you've got, so if you do unfortunately need to do anything, go to court or anything like that, or make any type of claim, you've got base photos on which to benchmark your claim against. And guys, as well, if you do need any tips on any renovations, I do have playlists on here that cover some of the renovations that I've done in the past. And by the way, my name's Sabrina. I am on a property investing journey this year to build up a portfolio, and I am literally documenting it all here on YouTube. I'm showing you my ups, my downs, any mistakes that I make, just so that you don't have to. So if you do like the content, please subscribe and feel free to like as well. Thanks. And guys, you're gonna want to watch until the end, because I've got an important bit of information that you really need to know and that you need to have when you're renting out your properties, because you can get into a lot of trouble if you don't do this step. And when you're doing your actual landlord checks as well, guys, please make sure that you are checking all of your carbon monoxide alarms, you are checking all of your electrics, everything's all up to date. You've got the latest landlord's insurance as well on your property just to cover you, and make sure that you've got an adequate level of insurance for your needs. Again, if you want to speak to either a financial advisor, I use Unbiased. That's the link is in the description box below. You can go on there. Yeah, and Unbiased, basically they are literally like a dating app just for your finances. So they will literally hook you up, for better word. They will literally get you in touch with a financial advisor or somebody who you want to, or a mortgage advisor or something like that, somebody that you're looking for. They will put you in touch with somebody to meet your needs. Yeah, and you can get the first month free. The link is in the description box below. Again, guys, I make a slight commission from this. I make a small commission for every person that signs up. So the link's in the description box if you are interested in that. But yes, you need to make sure that you've got the adequate level of landlord's insurance that's right for you and what you're wanting. Make sure that you do all of your safety checks, all of your carbon monoxide and smoke alarms, things like that. All of those things are working in the property that you're going to be renting out. Make sure that you've got all your gas safety certificates in place, you've got your electrical certificates in place, the EICRs. Make sure that you also have a working EPC for every property that you are going to be renting out. They are key things that you need as a landlord. So your gas safety certs and your electrical certificates, that should be done on a yearly basis. And also obviously your EPCs, I think they're every 10 years. And for every deposit that you do take from a tenant, this also needs to be in the form of a government-backed deposit scheme. So that protects the tenant from any dodgy landlords, anyone out there that basically just wants to take money and not give the tenant back their deposit. So you need to make sure, as I've said earlier, that the tenant's got a copy of the electrical installation conditions report, and also make sure you've gone through any inventory that's going to be left in the property as well. If it's furnished, make sure you list all of the things that are included in the tenancy and what condition they are, and then just make sure that it's all there in a pack and that the tenant can sign and have a front page where they sign the documents that they've received as well, and that you've got a copy too. And I would email them, as well as maybe giving them some sort of tenancy pack, which is what I normally do. You've got a date of when that actually went to them, whether it's email or WhatsApp or something like that. You've got a date of when that was sent to them, and you can go back and, whether for auditing purposes, for your own references, you've got that to hand if you need that. And guys, this is really, really important. As mentioned on earlier on in the video, this is the main thing. You really do need to give each tenant a copy of the how to rent guide from the government. You need to have given that to them before they have signed and you've handed over any keys. So if, in case you need to go back and make a claim, or you may need to do an eviction or anything like that, any unpleasant things like that, or go to courts or go through the courts or anything like that, you need to show evidence that that has been sent to them in the first place. And as I said at the beginning of the video, this is really important. You need to have made sure that you've gone through all of those and you're giving the tenant all of those documents before you hand over the keys, before they've moved in, just in case if you need to start any eviction processes, or if you need to make a claim, go to court or anything, the courts will ask you about these documents. So make sure that that is all in hand. Obviously, that's at the time of filming this video. There are so many changes that always happen as and when a budget comes out or the government implements different changes, but as of now, that needs to be done. And what I like to do is pop all of these things and some additional items as well, and pop them all into a tenant's welcome pack. And what I'll also do as well is go around and record all of your meter readings, everything like that, if that's applicable. Make sure that that's all noted and that all goes into this sort of tenant pack. And there's also a procedure in there for the tenant so that they know what to do if they need any repairs doing, or in the case of any emergency work. So I sort of class everything as either red, amber or green items. There's a different process for for each of those coloured items, and there's also a classification for each of those items, so that the tenant knows, right, this is a amber item, I can phone this number, which usually would be myself, and the landlord will sort it out within so much time. Or if it's a red item, for example, they smell gas, I'll say phone this number immediately, call out Cadent Gas, for example, so that they can come out and fix the problem straight away because it's an emergency. So there's just a bit of transparency there, and the tenant knows what they need to be doing in each situation. And then on the front sheet, what I'd have is what I've mentioned earlier on in the video, is just a list of things. So it says that they've obviously had the tenancy agreement, electrical certs, they've had the gas certs, the EPCs, the how to rent. This has all been given to them on such and such days. They've been given, I don't know, 2 or 3 sets of keys, and that's for the front and the back. That'll all be listed, and then on that front section there's a bit for them to sign so that they know all those items have, it's all been checked off. And what I also like to do as a bit of a bonus is a demonstration. So I'll go there, I'll meet the tenant, and I'll go through sort of any of the items and how to use the items, the heating and things like that. And I find that it's really, really good doing that because it's quite professional and you both know what's expected from each other. And at the end of it, then obviously, as I said, they're signing that as well as the tenancy agreement that you're going to give them, and then got that as a reference. Like I've said already in the video, I had a real bad bout of COVID just before Christmas. I had a tenancy go through, and I didn't have a chance to go through it in as much detail as I wanted to, how I would normally do it, because I wasn't able to attend on site. And it makes a world of difference. There's been a few issues that have happened since, and I think it's just been because it didn't start off the best, and that is obviously on me as well. I need to put in place procedures for when I am ill as well, and if I'm removed from the situation, so that gets rectified. But obviously if you go through a letting agency and they do all of that for you, then that's that problem solved. And just as a bonus, I'll also send the tenant a copy of the receipt. That'll all be included as well, just showing that their deposit has been deposited into the relevant deposit scheme, and it will just show the date so that they've got that as well for their records. So as I discussed before, I have a process for sort of repairs, or either amber or green repairs, that can be done at a slightly later date. So I have a process for that. And what I will say to you guys as well is that all of you probably know this already, but the tenant does have, and it's written in the tenancy agreement, that they have the quiet enjoyment of whatever area they have signed for and rented out within that tenancy agreement. So if you do need to make any repairs to anything, you need to let the tenant know 24 hours before yourself or somebody else is going to need access. You can't just go there on a whim. But yeah guys, to do all of this, you would have had to have purchased property in the first place. So you can watch this video next just to show, and this shows how I renovate properties, how I purchase properties from scratch. Thanks, bye.